At a time when Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, is in desperate search for unity, one of its brightest minds in the field of African history, Senator Professor Sandy Onor, provides useful insights into the subject matter of unity in his latest intellectual menu entitled Foundations of Nigeria's Unity. Nigeria's unity has wobbled delicately, with the country struggling to keep itself together as one in the midst of fierce political contestation for power, laced strongly with the biles of mutual ethnic and religious mistrust, the twin fault lines that have made it difficult for Nigeria to truly attain its full potential and take its pride of place in the League of Nations, considering its vast human and natural resources.
Truly, the foundations of Nigeria unity as a book can be coming in and can be more apt than now. Because as a country, we're preparing to go through another process of electing leadership that will take us through another 4 years. We're coming in at a time when we are faced with global challenges, economically, socially, but most importantly, as a country, we have our own share of these global pressures. And this, you'll agree with me, is coming in as a result of the weak unity we have amongst ourselves. So I urge all of us to read this book that tells us where we were before and tells us where we want to be. But how do we want to get there?
There was Chief Onor, who was the mayor in Lagos in 1950, and who was his deputy, Mazi Mbonu Ojike, an Igbo man. In 1952, an Ogwashuku man was in the Western House of Assembly. In 1957, one Felix Okonkwo was a special member of the Northern House of Chiefs. In 1959, one Malam Umaru Ushau was elected a member of the Eastern House of Chiefs. In 1961, the people of Aba voted for Margaret Eko from Cross River. Of course, you remember the issue of the mayor of Enugu, Alhaji Umaru at the time, who was Port Harcourt elected a man from Esako. And of course, even in Calabar, there was this Adamuno, a Ghanaian, who was even elected in place of Basi Duke, a cross-variant. They voted for a Ghanaian lawyer called Basi Duke. That was the extent of unity we had in the tour. You see, when we talk about uniting this country, I think you first have to love the country before you even talk about unity. During one of the election monitoring activities in Ghana, someone approached an electoral officer and said, "Can you change the results in order that the ruling party would win the election?" And she said, "No, I will never do this to Mother Ghana. I've never heard anyone say Mother Nigeria or Father Nigeria or whatever, because the love is not there." But let me even tell you, Sierra Leone is 90% Muslim. But the last two presidents, including the president, have been Christians. 90% Muslim, but Christian presidents. I think that those are lessons we need to learn from all that has happened. I think that what Nigeria really needs now is that love, and we hope that in the years to come, we'll be able to build a proper foundation for this to happen.
Nigeria's fragile unity, or the lack of it, may have explained why some early writers, especially those watching it from outside, had slammed Nigeria with a prediction that it was going to be a matter of time for the country to completely disintegrate. That prediction nearly materialized as Nigeria, barely 7 years after independence, was at war with itself. The scars of that civil war have refused to fade away 52 years after, even though the country has remained standing. A few other early Nigerian writers and even some nationalists had shared similar fears, suggesting that Nigeria was an artificial creation, an accident of history, and a mistake that should have been avoided, and that the country was going to be a difficult, if not an impossible experiment at nationhood. But 7.5 decades later, Onor, relying on his background as an astute professor of African history in his latest work, Foundations of Nigeria's Unity, told his own side of the story, tracing the country's unity to the earliest times and long before the arrival of the colonial masters.
Sandy, thank you for this book. Yes, we are one people, and it begins with respecting the Constitution. Don't go on stigmatizing the Constitution as the product of the military. We have a Constitution, and we must respect it. It may not be the best Constitution you can get, but our duty is to repair it until we arrive. Thanks be to God. Senate President, please, we need a National Integration Commission. A commission to integrate the nation. We have a Federal Character Commission, but it is not enough. A National Integration Commission will ensure that a cross-Riverian like myself can be the governor of Katsina. Under the military, it was so. And it was a good thing. So we need a National Integration Commission. We must unite the nation.
We're standing tall, standing tall. We are one.
There couldn't have been a better place other than right in the heart of Nigeria's capital and symbol of unity, Abuja, venue of the public presentation of the book for the 7th senator who represents Cross River Central and the People's Democratic Governorship candidate in the 2023 elections, to call attention to the content of his book. Onor also made sure that his finished work of history was unveiled before the leadership of the National Assembly, with the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, in attendance. The book presentation was also in the full glare of a galaxy of other Nigerian historians and the prestigious Council of Historic Society of Nigeria, validating Onor's submission in the book. For the Council, the book presentation provided a perfect opportunity to induct an illustrious member as Fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria.
Through adversities, we are one.
100 years. 100 years. Unity.
By the powers conferred on me as the President of the Historical Society of Nigeria and Chairman Board of Fellows, I hereby admit you into the Council of the Fellows of the Historical Society of Nigeria. Congratulations. You are a public figure. You may also adorn your walls with this flag. Congratulations.
One nation. Indivisible. Nigeria is here to stay.
We are standing tall as a nation.
Standing tall.
Through adversity,
We are one. 100 years.
The book, Foundations of Nigeria's Unity, authored by Senator Professor Sandy Onor, consists of 333 pages, and according to the reviewer, Professor Chris Ogbogbo, the work of history clearly demonstrated how quintessential the author has been, implying his trade as an historian, delivering his insights in masterful storytelling techniques. Ogbogbo recommended the book as a must-read to every citizen and finds it a useful antidote to the age-long fallacies that Nigeria was bound to fail.
The impetus for the title of the book, Foundations of Nigeria's Unity, derives from the determination to prove the proponents of what Sandy in page 7 refers to as the theory of fundamental diversity wrong. These proponents aver that Nigerians have nothing in common since the pre-colonial era, and so the British, in bringing disparate peoples together, forged strange bedfellows into a nation state. Sandy then opines that the view of those that subscribe to the above theory needs to be struck down, in his own words, with pitiless ruthlessness of Lucifer. For he argues that their views are what the cerebral A.E. Afibu describes as political poppycock and uninformed propaganda. The strength of the book is the undisputed and immutable facts deployed with a high sophistication in language and style that makes his argument unassailable. He opines that the challenge of Nigeria's unity is clearly the political elite's failure, a failure to integrate Nigerians and douse the vociferous tendencies through good governance. Sandy argues that while it is a truism that Lord Lugard amalgamated the various Nigerian peoples under one political umbrella, the journey towards unification began long before 1914. Just like J.F. Ajayi, he identifies various milestones that have shaped the making of Nigeria all through the years. He adheres to the admonition of Professor C.C. Felicia by emphasizing the things that unite Nigerians as a people. This is because of the understanding that nations across the world are not born but constructed by men and women. For Nigeria, the construction started long before 1914 and has continued in spite of the stresses and strains that have attended the Nigerian project. In spite of these unpalatable strains, Sandy proceeds that, and I quote him, staying together based on proper understanding and mutual respect for one another is the best option for Nigeria.
PDP's national women leader, Professor Stella Ifa Ato, who herself is an historian, described Onor's book as landmark publication, commending the professionalism in the author. She agreed totally with the views of the author that it is not true that Nigeria's nation did not exist before the amalgamation of the southern and northern protectorates in 1914.
The basic ingredients had been there. It was harnessed in 1914, further consolidated in the post-colonial era. But today, it appears to be wobbling. But what are we to do? What we have to do as Nigerians is look at the past and build on the existing infrastructure laid down by those early foundations. And how do we go about this? By eliminating things like ethnicity, religious intolerance, cultural differences.
In his remarks, the book presenter, close friend and ally of the author, Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, who was represented by the State Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General, Professor Zacchaeus Adango, also agreed with the position of the author that Nigeria is not an artificial creation, even though it was made up of different people. He, however, noted that the amalgamation was based on two fundamental and underlying principles: that none of the ethnic groups shall dominate the other, and each shall be allowed to grow at its own pace.
If you go through the series of constitutional conferences, starting from Lagos, Ibadan, London, you can argue that it is not actually true that Nigeria is an artificial entity created by the British colonial government. Our forefathers participated in a series of constitutional conferences and they agree on the formation of Nigeria. Although there was a driving force, propelled by the British colonial government. In agreeing to form a common country called Nigeria, two fundamental principles were agreed upon, and I want to be taken very seriously. First was that no one ethnic group shall dominate the other. Two, that each constituent unit shall be allowed to progress at its own differing speed so that ultimately Nigeria shall be developed. Those were the two fundamental principles of the formation of the Federation of Nigeria. In constitutional law, we call those the underlying principles of Nigerian federalism. And any deviation, any derogation from this fundamental principle would normally yield adverse result.
The author used the entire chapter 9 of the book to deliberate extensively on the significant roles of women in nation building and the need for greater inclusiveness in Nigeria's quest for unity and greatness.
Whether the white man came or not, the forces of history were moving Nigerians towards a commonality. So it was wrong to describe Nigeria as an artificial creation. Once the manuscript landed abroad, the first publisher seized it with glee and published it. The Galda Verlag in Germany. That is why when His Excellency Clement Dewey talks about the quality of the book, that is part of the secret. I am not putting down Nigerian publishers because Yaliam that has done this domestic equivalent has done equally well. Therefore, this book is a call to all Nigerians. You see, Nigeria is an infinite possibility that we can make it work.
It is the aspect of the book that endeared PDP deputy governorship candidate Emama Duke Ambrose to the masterpiece of history told by the governorship candidate Sandy Onor.
So I'd like to say thank you too for recognizing the role that women play in nation building, not just as family makers, but also champions, because women have always been leaders. They've always been there leading. Without a woman, the men would not even be there. So thank you for not just practicing what you preach by choosing a female deputy. I'm not trying to patronize you. It is what it is, actually. And also taking time out to write about it in your book. I like to say it's a book that every one of us should actually take time to imbibe. It's the chapters, the excerpts we've listened to are rather interesting. And I, for one, am going to take time to read page by page.
In his goodwill message, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, said, Onor's expository challenges Nigeria's leadership to do everything it can to find Nigeria's unity in its purest form before the country became agog with ethnic and religious tensions and rivalry.
This book is telling us that we have to go back, like the mother of the day said. We have to go back to our roots. Where did we leave the road? Maybe we came to a junction and somebody took us the wrong side and we are yet to recover. But there are still people who are trying so hard to create and sustain unity of our country. And I believe that the rest of us, especially in leadership positions, are supposed to work assiduously to make Nigeria a very united country, a nation where everybody will feel belonged. I'm happy to know that the book exposes the fallacies of visionists who are more focused on the things that can tear us apart rather than things that can unite us as a people. And here, I want to believe that sometimes some people can complain based on genuine cause because they feel not properly treated or maybe marginalized in courts, and there is no part of this country that does not cry marginalizations from time to time. But I think more often, some of these tendencies of pushing or pulling away, the centrifugal tendencies are created by elites. It is our duty as leaders to look into those genuine causes when our citizens complain. Our heterogeneity can be a foundation for our unity. This patriotic and nationalistic effort is a step in the right direction in the bid to expand our knowledge of nationhood such that our challenges will not be seen as unusual and insurmountable.
Onor graduated from the Department of History and the University of Calabar, top of his class in 1987. He successfully completed his PhD at the age of 27 and has spent a good part of his life in the academia before he joined politics.
In all these positions, Senator Onor's noble deeds have become ossified. Because of his rare leadership qualities, astute representation and love for humanity, the good people of Cross River Central Senatorial District gave him their mandate to represent them as senator in the 9th Assembly of the Nigeria Senate, where he has opulently distinguished himself. His eloquence and visionary contributions on the floor of the Nigerian Senate have confirmed him as indeed a square peg in a square hole in a hallowed chamber. It was his enchanting oratory that prompted the declaration by the President of the Nigerian Senate, His Excellency Senator Dr. Ahmed Lawan, GCON, that Senator Onor be crowned the orator of the Nigerian Senate, despite the fact that he belongs to the opposition party.
Senator Professor Onor has authored and edited 9 books, several book chapters and articles in journals, too numerous to mention. His latest work, Foundations of Nigeria's Unity, is a product of the author's productivity and resourcefulness, even at a time the world was held down by COVID-19 pandemic.
The second story I would like to tell is about a young man called Dan Dalamuta. Dan Dalamuta is from Gombe. He taught me how to call Gombe. I used to run a haulage service for NMPC. I had a couple of trucks. I had Christians who were cheap drivers, they failed me. I had Southerners who were cheap drivers, they failed me. I had Northerners who were cheap drivers, they failed. I had Muslims, people from my village, until one man recommended Dan Kalamusa. He's a Muslim from Gombe. Once he took over the leadership of that transport company, shortages stopped. Point I'm making is that there are good Nigerians in the north. There are good Nigerians in the south. There are good Christians, there are good Muslims. Just as there are bad ones. We must look for the best everywhere in Nigeria and make our country better. And now, my thank yous. My family, my wife Gertrude, my son Sandy Jr., and the rest of the family for providing the love and the peace at home that enabled me right. I'm grateful. To the President of the Senate and my colleagues for enabling me see Nigeria from a practical point, for firing me up to make a contribution that will be good for this country. Mr. President, when the heat of the moment goes down, history will record you as one of those Nigerians that made things better for our country. Thank you. There is a man that is a friend like no one. When he calls you his friend, go and sleep. Yes. In the Bible, there are 2 stories I love particularly. The story of Joseph, because it talks about destiny. When God purposes a thing for you, it will come to pass. And then the story of David and Jonathan. Yes, Wike is my friend. We met as chairman
The fact that he has become governor today has not diminished our friendship. I am still his friend. And for this friendship, he has taken a lot in my defense. He has shown me what it means to be a friend. And I too, I am his friend. When you want to learn how to be a friend, learn under Yesom Wiki. As I always do in moments like this, finally, to God, without whose infinite mercies I would not have been in the first instance, I cannot quantify my gratitude. Thank you so much.
It took Onor 7 months of sheer hard work, detailed researches, diligence and perseverance to complete the intellectual menu and have it served to the reading public. It is an offshoot of his next book, Tragedy of Followership in Nigeria. Onor promised will hit the stands soon.
One nation, one country.